recognition that this is Mortar Board Week. So this is the week that's meant to celebrate the past and the future of Mortar Board, and we couldn't think of a better way to do so. Speaking of the future, if you are a junior and would like the opportunity to be part of a group with such long-standing tradition, be on the lookout because we will be sending out applications for membership for next year coming up in March. Although only students who are going to be seniors academically are allowed to apply for the membership, we are also starting what's called the Mortar Board Sophomore of the Year Award, and there will be a $100 scholarship for the person who wins that. So those applications will also be going out in March, so if you are a sophomore, be looking for that. My final announcement is in regards to our last lecture of this academic school year, which will be with Dean Bob McMath. And so be kind of on the lookout for that. That'll be sometime at the end of March, beginning of April. So now I have the honor of introducing our speaker for the evening. He has been at the University of Arkansas for 32 years, and he has touched more than 25,000 students while he's been here, more than 31,000 in total. I have had the privilege of having him in class, and I know I am a better marketing student and a better person because of it. He has been the recipient of countless awards and honors, and if I had to describe him in one word, it would be remarkable. That being said, I don't think there are enough words to give him a proper introduction, so without further ado, please join me in welcoming Dr. Ashton.
Snow, and I know my classes tomorrow are late to hear that Springdale or Fayetteville schools are not going to be in school because that's the cue. They don't have to show up for the early class. But I don't think we're going to find that going to occur. I appreciate very much you coming out of the weather to listen tonight. We have a 45 to 50-minute lecture, if you will. And let me say to begin with how grateful I am to Mortar Board for asking me to be able to do this. This is a real special event here at the university, and it will continue on. I think that based on the number of people that have come, I don't think they're going to have enough refreshments for all of you after this thing is over with. So, you want to get out there real quick. And I noticed a number of you did not pick up a rock when you came in. You may be sorry for that a little bit later, but we'll see how that goes anyway. But let me set the stage for what this lecture is. This is not about marketing. It's not about business. It's not about research. It's not about consumer behavior. It's about life. It's things that I may have reflected back on, and the people, Kristen, like you, that I reflected back on. And I think I know half the people here. I think you're still on credit for coming to this from my class. But I've reflected back on my life to 1952. I'm going to bring some of that forward. The last music that you heard, actually, I learned to dance when I was in the 6th grade. And I love to dance. I can't do that anymore. So I thought I'd put together a set of music that we used to dance to, like Louie Louie with the Kings, a great piece of music, as a matter of fact. So I want to give you some kind of background, kind of how you have affected me, not how I have affected you. And I hope that you'll like what I've got planned for you. But the scenario is, this is my last lecture. And it might very well be. This is a time that's a very special time for me. I wish that my daughter and my son could be here so they could say, hey, Dad, you must be okay. Look at all these people that showed up. I said, yeah, but I'm out of money because I had to pay them all to get here. For sure. So, hey, Tim. This is just like class. I know all these people. I think that when I think about what I have to do every day, it's real stressful. And I it's very hard to kind of set objectives of what you want to do. So many of you I have done advising for, and you know you're going to be an accounting major, a marketing major, a management major, and God forbid an economics major, you know, one of those types of things. And you decide quite commonly when you're 18 years old what you're going to do when you're 60 years old. I said, I can't understand that. So let's see if I can give you some pillars that will kind of answer some questions for you in the 45 minutes that I have to talk with you about maybe the importance of life and maybe kind of who I am because of who you are. So I'd like to be able to do that. Right? I think the best way to start this off is with a very easy concept of saying if looks could kill. Because I grew up in a household where my mother not only had looks, but she had a baseball bat. She used to hit me with that an awful lot too. And I'm not joking with that. That's absolutely true. Now she's 96. I take care of her night and slap her around once in a while. She can't believe that because she can't walk. It's great to be able to do that. But the best part about having her with me is she describes the sticker that's on my rearview mirror as her cripple sticker. That's how she describes it. So I have the advantage of her cripple sticker sometimes. And when my wife lets me have it. There are 4 basic questions that I'd like us to address tonight in the 45 minutes. Hey, Robert. That I'd like to address. Number 1, what are the bases of my behaviors? Me. I want to look internally. Me. What are the bases of those behaviors? Second consideration I'd like to have is what is the content of that behavior for me? You know, who I am. And you know, you guys don't know how old I am, but I will tell you Jesus Christ did sit behind me in the 3rd grade. I'm an old guy. Third consideration is what is the meaning of my behavior, especially to you. Especially to you. And we're going to talk about that tonight. And the 4th thing that I'd like to talk about, if it'll come up here, is to let you know that I am accountable for my behavior, just as you are hopefully accountable for your behavior too. It's good to see you. I haven't seen you in a while. You're on your internship, right? That's why I didn't see you. Hello, Stacia. Hey. Seems like I know all of you. This is great. You know, Father's Day is not far away. I'd like to have parts moment. I'll have it for Mother's Day. Okay. So before we start, I want to tell you a little bit of a story. I have over here some rocks. This is a good story. I noticed most of you didn't pick up rocks, but if those had been $10 bills or gold pieces, would you have picked up at least one? The story kind of goes on. It's a parable. It's a biblical parable. And this individual, this traveler, was lost in the desert. And while he was lost in the desert, an angel appeared before him and said, don't worry, you'll get out safely, but I have to ask you, as you go through the desert, pick up all of the rocks that you can find. Now, it doesn't have any water, so why would you go picking up rocks? Can you imagine like this? He says, you know, what are you doing? So he starts picking up rocks because the angel told him to do that. As he got further and further along, it was harder and harder for him to be able to carry those rocks. So you know what he did. He discarded the rocks. He threw them off. At the end of the period of time, he actually got to the very end of his travels and met up with someone, and they kind of explained what was going on. And he looked in his pocket and pulled out the rock, and the rock had converted to gold. Had he known that all those rocks would convert to gold, would he have held on to them? Would he? Well, those rocks are kind of my gold. Each one of you who has one of those rocks, and please get one before you leave, it's called an eternity rock. It will last for eternity. I hope it will. Because those rocks represent for me my relationships with all of you. And it's nice when you can have people who come in from work from Tyson's, who come from work from Procter & Gamble's. I don't know why you're here, but I really do appreciate why you're here. But you're my rocks. Our relationship that started off with nothing has turned into a very golden opportunity for me. And so I cherish my rocks. I'm going to hold on to my rocks because I appreciate those rocks and they remind me of you. And it's so wonderful to be able to think that I have this collection that no one can ever take away from me. And Paige, I will always remember you sitting in the back row of the class, tweeting or whatever you were doing in the back row. I can point fingers at half of you who've done that also. But the important thing that I like to say about those rocks is they are symbolic. They're symbolics of relationships. And those rocks are really, really old. They're older than I am. But they last for a long period of time. And it's amazing how people, out of choice, will pick the real shiny rocks. They aren't rocks. They're glass. They were just made last week. But the rocks have been around forever. And I think the thing that we have to do in our lives, is build relationships, Rachel, that last forever. The longest relationship that I classroom is sitting right here, Dr. Robert Brady. And his daughter sitting next to him, and I had a great opportunity on December the 28th, I think 1989. 1990? 1990. I got the date a little bit wrong, but I do have December the 28th, when Sarah and Elizabeth were born. And I appreciate that very much. And over on this particular end over here, I have Stacia Hoffman, and I've been around since the moment that she was born. In fact, I'm her godfather. As she describes me, by the way, her fairy godfather. I don't know one fairy in there at all. No. But I'd like to tell you more about this and about the rocks, because it's going to end up at the end. I hope we'll pick up a rock and keep it. They are eternity rocks. Let's see what's come up here. Okay, what are the bases of my behavior? Well, I think the basis of my behavior overall are probably, experiences. I've had a lot of experiences in my life that have been very positive. I think one of the best experiences I had is when I was quite a young child, and I lived in a place called Durant, Mississippi with my grandparents. My mother and father were all doing whatever they do. And I learned to live on a farm. I learned to get up at 3:30 in the morning. That you had to get up before the sun came up, and you had to work throughout that day to make sure you had something of value when it came to the wintertime and you couldn't grow things. So we grew everything that we ate except sugar, salt, and flour. Everything else we did ourselves. But the experiences I've had, the most recent experiences that I've had have been really important to me. And I've been able to travel the world with Bob Brady and with Molly Raver. Let me see who else is in here that I've seen. Molly's back over here in the back. But I've been able, when I say travel the world, I mean we've been on several continents together to be able to teach in the military area. So we teach people how to kill, so you don't want to screw with us. So the experiences, that's the same thing with you. I have another friend in here that I've been a friend with since I think it was 93, it may have been 1992. I met his daughter at 5. He's not an American. I think he is, overall, but he's from Moscow, in Vitaly Russia. Vitaly over here finished his master's degree. He's finishing up his PhD now. His daughter got her undergraduate degree here. I guess Olga's going to come to school here too, is that right? Probably. She can live with me if I'm still around, all right? So experiences tend to shape and mold and polish us, and you're my experiences. You are the craftsmen who have made me. The 31 to 32,000 students that I've had in my life have shaped, molded, and polished me in so many ways to refine me to recognize that my behavior breeds your behavior. And how I behave toward you determines how you behave also toward me. So we'll go back to experiences a little bit later. I don't want to say on anything real long. People are the most important part of my life, without doubt. People make the difference. You know, I guess I should have a Walmart blue coat on, because on the back it says, our people make the difference. But that's really, really true. Think of all of you here in the classroom and the relationships that you've had in the probably, I say, 25 or 28 years that you've been alive. Which ones of those relationships have shaped, have molded, and have polished you from a piece of art into a masterpiece that you are today? And when you're 35 to 45, that's when you want to be in control of your life, not when you're 22 to 23. You want to build to that situation, in a long life learning situation. I want to show you a couple people that have really affected my life, if they'll come up. I taught her how to do this. Doesn't have is a pole. This is my granddaughter. Her name is Meredith Paige Wood. And she is a delightful young lady. She really is the joy of my life. I have another granddaughter whose name is Connor. My daughter's name is Heather. My son's name is Steve. And I have a great-granddaughter who turned 2 years old last Friday, February the 8th. And she is delightful. We sent her a package, they Skyped us, they unloaded the package, and we put cowboy boots on her. And they put the boots on her, and they taught her how to dance. Shelby, can you imagine at 2 years old learning how to dance? You know how they did that?